Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here. Let's get into this story. We got Demi, not Lovato, Demi Burnett talking with Mike and Brian about her experience with the Reality Steve, the power dynamic issue at hand, and the whole story, whether she forgives him or not after his lengthy apology, which we covered late last week. Most of you actually thought he had a good apology. Look, apologies can be good. It doesn't mean you're going to follow through on it. I think he hit all the right notions in his apology and kind of digested and understood where he went wrong. But then again, as we'll discuss, this far into the Me Too movement, it's one thing to say you didn't know something from a few years ago. It's another when it's just in the last several months. So let's play this YouTube clip and then we will discuss.
So as far as, let's go back to Reality Steve for a second. He actually came out with an apology, a long-winded apology. I wanted to get your thoughts because he actually addressed you specifically in his apology, and we wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I did see that. I feel a lot of ways about this because I do believe that I do understand his confusion because, like I said, I feel like and it's not my fault, but like I can be confusing because I am so nice that people mistake it for more than just being nice and friendliness. But I would have a lot more respect for him if he were to just say, you know what? I was being creepy. I thought she was hot. I made an advance I shouldn't have made. I shouldn't have done it. I just did it because I thought she was hot. But yeah, I get it. It was weird. Instead of this whole, I didn't know I had any power over these people. Like that power, everyone in Bachelor Nation, or even just like anyone who would observe the situation could tell that there's a power dynamic there. It's a man who has dirt on us and who can ruin our lives. And if you will notice, which makes me the most mad because he doesn't acknowledge this, is that he has hated on me severely, called me the worst name, like the annoying, she just does everything for herself, like said the meanest things about me I guess it's been years now. And then the second that I gave him the time of day just to like have peace with him, I guess, and have a somewhat kind of like relationship with him, not that kind of relationship, but just like a friendly relationship. So maybe he would stop talking about me. He stopped saying nasty things about me. The worst thing he said about me since that time that I like went on his live, had this conversation with him, the worst thing he said was, Demi, I guess, isn't coming on my podcast. He stopped saying I was annoying. He stopped saying that I was super selfish. He stopped saying all these ugly, ugly things about me, and he said nothing. So clearly what I was doing worked. I was like, I'm going to get good with him so he won't talk bad about me. He won't bash me. He won't gossip about me. And it worked. And so for him to say he doesn't see the power dynamic, I'm like, you're not dumb, dude. You're not dumb. You're clearly very smart, very calculated. You know what you're doing. So just own the fact that you were being a creep and you were being inappropriate. And that's it. I don't need this. I had no idea. And I never thought about the fact that I had a power over these women and blah, blah. That is BS to the T, BS. You would have to be someone who has never, ever, ever even heard of the show before to think that. Like someone who, lives in Antarctica or something. Like there's no way that you don't see the power dynamic. You can see it from every point of view. And you know that you have an army of people on your side that will go to bat for whatever you give them because you're giving them spoilers. So they're loyal to you because they rely on you for the spoilers. And then you're giving them information about contestants. And like they said on the Clickbait podcast, the validation comes from the spoilers always being correct, or for the most part correct. So then, of course, the gossip must be correct. Like, you know that there's a power dynamic. There's no way you don't. And you even treat it that way because you started being nice to me once I started talking to you, because like I had never talked to him before. I was mean to him. Like I would tweet crap to him.
Did he call you his friend like recently? Did he mention that, or am I mistaken? Because like now in his apology, he's calling you his acquaintance.
He didn't say the word friend in his apology or his
well,
statement.
he said acquaintance in his apology. So I thought, okay, now before she was your friend, and now it's like, how many times have you even talked to this guy? And then when I saw it, it's like we barely talked. So that makes
Barely.
that makes his whole story about his sex dream even more creepy. Like, it's like you barely even know
I
this
know.
girl.
I know. It was really weird. And for me personally, it was weird, but I'm kind of used to it. Like most women in America are used to this. Maybe around the world, I don't know how other cultures work with this kind of thing, but it was very uncomfortable. So whenever I'm on the phone with him and he's telling me this stuff, I'm just like, oh my God, it's so crazy. It's so funny, whatever. And then I'm like, this man has been bashing me on the internet for so long and making people, because there are people in Bachelor Nation, even if they're fans of the show, they're still fans of him because he gets the spoilers to them. Mm-hmm. So they're reading his spoilers and he's tainting their opinion on me by what he's saying, how annoying I am, how attention seeking I am, like all these things. So then that's tainting me. So like now a bunch of people are hating me and I'm getting all these negative comments about being annoying, about being this and that, because he started all this. Well, the second I made friends with him, he stopped saying all of that. So why wouldn't I make friends with him? You know? Why wouldn't anyone?
That was good psychology that you did. Yeah.
That totally plays into the power dynamic that you're talking about too.
All right, there it is, folks. All right, so we've got a lot there. Demi said a lot. She said a lot within that quick 5 minutes there. Basically talked about the culture of laughing along when it comes to either people in power positions or situations that are uncomfortable. She said, yeah, I laughed along. I was kind of playing around with it, but she knew that as soon as she reached out to contact him or spoke with him, he stopped slandering. He stopped sharing sort of negative opinions about her, which with his his influential fan base actually had some equity there. I don't think there's as much equity now, but there's still some. There's energy. There's power. Power equals energy. E equals MC squared, right? So the power of his platform, the power of his voice reaching other people is energy. So he is in a position of power. Much like I'm in a smaller position of power because I have a smaller platform. But if people believed everything I said and respected me because I got all the spoilers right, they might also believe something I say as an opinion. It's kind of like, look, and hold on, folks, Fox News, as an example, has their news program, and then they have their opinion program. A lot of people that watch Fox News don't know the difference. They don't understand that Tucker Carlson isn't the news program. He's opinion entertainment. You understand? Do you guys get this? So don't just comment and say, why you got to bring politics into it? Because it's about media literacy. It's about understanding what people are saying, understanding where the money's coming from, understanding that opinions are not facts. But unfortunately, when people are like, well, he guessed who the final contestant would be on Hannah Brown's season, so I guess he's right when he says that Demi's a creep. You know, it's like, that's a loose connection, and you need to be able to separate the two. So separating spoilers from gossip is a tough decision to make. It's a tough separation to make. So she said she would just prefer it if he just called it what it was. I was being creepy. Maybe I was horny. I texted her. I thought she would have whatever the case may be. I'm not going to make his story up for him, but she didn't appreciate that he kind of tried to put it behind this. No, I thought we were friends and comfortable, and I understand we weren't. It's like, well, break down why you thought you were friends in the first place. Was it because she felt the need to get your approval so you'd stop to get off her back? Because this does affect their careers as influencers and what they do within entertainment. This does affect their careers, building a fan base, curating that, harnessing it. I mean, this is just the world we live in, folks. This is late stage capitalism. You know, you don't want all these people to become influencers. They don't have anything else to do. The middle class is shrinking. All right, I digress. But the point is, I hope you understand the point. Same thing with MSNBC, or it's like morning talk show is not necessarily news, and evening opinion show, Rachel Maddow, I don't even watch it. I'm sure that's not new. That's not NPR. That's not the 6 p.m. news. That's not an unbiased, like, here are the stories from today. No, it's why I think the wall needs to, that's an opinion. And unfortunately, for so many people, we aren't able to differentiate between opinions and facts, and at least getting to a place with the least biased information. Now, of course, with ABC, I was so bummed with what they did with the Colton Underwood interview, and they're typically a slightly left-leaning but central news organization, ABC, CBS, NBC. These are NPR. These aren't the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the Fox Newses and the OAN and this and that. They're sort of within the goalposts of reality. But then when you leave out information and you don't get down to the bottom of the truth, it makes you wonder, there's always a bottom dollar attached to it. So what's interesting with Reality Steve, and I wanted to pull up this. Now, hang on and stay with me, folks. Terry Heaton is a blogger, but also a professor in Dallas, Texas, and he and I have reached out back and forth. Really nice man. And he's actually got a blog out that's very interesting with regards to Reality Steve, a lesson in new media ethics. I'm just going to read the whole thing. I was going to pick out parts, but he wrote it. It's great. And I'm going to read the whole thing and post a link below. This is, as far as like learning how to deal and evolve with journalism and how we consume our news and ethics, which is so important. Ethics is so important. And people study this. We study this in college. You study ethics in journalism. Ethics is the most important part to journalism. So let's see how Terry kind of thinks Reality Steve went wrong. Reality Steve, a lesson in new media ethics. When I lived in Dallas 10 years ago, I had the great pleasure to be an adjunct professor at the University of North Texas. They needed somebody to teach media journalism ethics in the radio, TV, film department, so my syllabus was focused almost entirely on ethics in a new media universe and not old school journalism. My students would be the most part be working in new situations that greatly complicate ethics, so I called my course Ethical Decision Making in the Media. This course will be unlike any you've ever attended for two reasons. Journalistic ethics are evolving. Traditions and sacred canons have served us well for nearly a century, but technology and business disruptions are dismantling the institution of professional journalism and the companies that host the trade. In various academic circles, efforts are underway to address this evolution, one of which culminated in a gathering of in September of 2008 at Kent State University. This is a sense that we are making this up as we go along, and no one should be afraid to admit that. There is a sense that we're making things up as we go along. As a result, we're going to be teaching each other and learning from others involved in the process together. As a thought leader in the industries of local media, I am at the forefront of the changes taking place. My clients are dealing with issues in the real world of media that we will be discussing in this class. Therefore, this will be an opportunity for you to participate in a process that is current, topical, and relevant. In the end, you will have a significant advantage over your contemporaries who haven't experienced this class. I mean, this is fascinating stuff for everyone out there who's got your own YouTube channels or just with the information you share within your own platforms like microjournalism. It's important to know the ethics that you have in sharing news and finding out what the sources are. I mean, I posted that I got my second vaccine. We got anti-vaxxers. They're all over, right? 20% of our country doesn't want to get a vaccine. We're not going to reach herd immunity because of that, and it's a flippin' disgrace. It really is. And people will send me infographics saying quotes and stats, and I'll just say, can you share your source with me? I feel like a teacher. Will you cite your source? I'd like to read your source. And then someone sends me a Christian, and it has nothing to do with Christianity, but this Christian couple is an anti-vax couple, and they're selling a $400 course, and it's like, of course, follow the money. Of course they're trying to scare you. Follow the money. In the end, you will have learned how to make complex ethical decisions that will help you in any media endeavor and beyond. Ethical decision-making is critical in American society. Learn it, and it will serve you well in work and in life. And of course, as I read this, I have to remind myself my own ethics. I slip into a line of sharing news that's not fully vetted and understanding the collateral damage that might come from reporting certain things. I like to think when I look back at calling Bachelor out for how they dealt with Brittany Galvin and the lack of care they put towards Cassie Randolph, I like to think in most scenarios I'm fighting for the person that's getting smeared in different campaigns, but I have to remember that if I'm going to share stories, to make sure I can fully break down what might be either fake news or when sources are kind of seem like BS in today's world. You need more than just some random source, I think, to truly believe something. So as I provided ethical situations for discussion that involved a single journalist functioning in running their own brand, whether that was with others or alone, my thesis was that running your own blog or similarly functioning website providing news and information was a veritable minefield of ethical difficulties, because students would be their own owners, publishers, editors, writers, marketing managers, and distributors. The following essay is a contemporary story of exactly what I was talking about all those years ago. Reality Steve. Let me introduce you to Steve Carbone, known publicly as Reality Steve. A former sports radio guy, the 45-year-old Carbone began spoiling the ending and other details of the television series The Bachelor and Bachelorette in 2011. You can take a man out of the sports talk show business, it seems, but you can't take that business out of the man. He writes often of gambling trips to Vegas and loves the entirety of sports betting. This is important to understand his work because sports gamblers need resources to work with, and Steve has pursued revenue over any thoughts of ethics, one of the many things we talked about in my class. When you're responsible for the money and the content, you will face ethical difficulties. There's a reason, for example, that local media doesn't take on the car dealers in any market. Too much money's at stake, and so there's an unwritten rule in newsrooms that you just don't investigate car dealers. For individuals competing as media sites, this issue is doubly complicated because growing such a business demands a degree of ethics not required by professionals working for a media institution. Which is exactly what everyone's been saying. He has no boss. He has no one checking out at his sources and his ethics and all that. Steve Carbone's website is realitysteve.com, which he brands as my slanted, sophomoric, and skewed view on the world of reality television. He is vulgar, inflammatory, fame-hungry, loose with the truth, a gossiper, and damned effective at spoiling the show for his followers. I've been a fan since the beginning because as a fan of the show, I've always found it better viewing when I knew how it was going to end. In fairness to the guy, he's also been the most vocal voice about the manipulation of producers in reality television, which followers could then watch play out every week. When the New York Times discovered him at the end of 2015, his fame skyrocketed, and it seemed that he could do no wrong. Today, we're learning that Carbone has done a great deal wrong in the execution of his strategy for revenue growth, chief among them being the creation of artificial drama by spreading partially cooked rumors that have caused embarrassment and far worse among the show's contestants. By publishing false accusations as fact, Carbone created an image of extortionist among this group of people. His friendship with contestants was based on their fear of him writing something untoward about them, and for this, he's claimed ignorance. Contestant Jade Roper was relentlessly hammered over her participation in a Playboy photo shoot before she appeared on the show. Carbone used every opportunity to paint her as a whore. When Jenna Cooper became engaged on Bachelor in Paradise, Carbone published what turned out to be a false accusation that she already had a boyfriend back home. The support evidence he used was laughable. He used his connections to arrange a phone call with contestant Demi Burnett in which he told of a sex dream he'd had about her. In the past few weeks, Reality Steve has been outed now as a misogynist, a bully, careless, ruthless, and reckless. I will say, as a side note, he has apologized for the past Jade and Jenna things, but of course, apologies when it comes to journalism. You know, when the story's already out, most people only believe the first story they hear. That's just how it works. Looking at you, Tom Brady and Deflategate, he was innocent. You know, ESPN does a retraction story at 2 a.m. Baloney. I digress. He was naturally all over the story of Matt James' winner, Rachel Kirkconnell, and her upbringing as a white Southern belle who never considered the grave implications of participating in behavior now considered racist. This was especially problematic considering James was the first black male lead in the show's history. They were both overwhelmed and hounded by horrible accusations, and they fled to private locations to talk and work things out. Enter Steve Carbone, who'd received an email from a woman in Florida with evidence that James was looking to hook up with her just days before traveling to New York to meet with Kirkconnell. Carbone personally engineered passing this information along to Rachel through her family, thereby setting the narrative that James was cheating on her. Others described him as creepy, including Christina Schulman, a contestant who reported numerous inappropriate contacts with her. For his part, Carbone has apologized profusely and claimed that he's changed his ways. He says he's no longer the misogynist he was and that those things were from long ago. He's also publicly stated that he will no longer have personal relationships with contestants, something any observer of the press will recognize as a slippery slope to begin with. He's a victim of believing his own hype, which is the Achilles heel of contemporary journalism, whether you're a gossip columnist, a neighborhood blogger, or covering the White House or for the New York Times. The earliest indication of problems with the guy appeared to me many years ago. For in earlier times, before the New York Times article, I used to help him with proofreading and making corrections for his site. I had early interactions with him over the usability of his website and urged him many times to fix issues related to the pop-up ads from which he was making money. These ads occurred one on top of the other and made it nearly impossible to read the blog content. His Twitter feed was filled with complaints that his site was unusable. I even offered him the name and contact information for a WordPress expert who could help him. He refused because despite the endless complaints from readers, fixing the problems would have impacted his revenue. So today, Carbone finds himself a toxic influence on the Bachelor franchise. He's shunned by everyone now, and nobody knows what will happen with both the franchise or Reality Steve. He badly needs to stay relevant even though the rules of media life are changing. You simply can't get away with this kind of behavior any longer because we're all connected and we can speak to the same people to make things right. In this sense, he is a textbook example of what I was teaching 10 years ago. According to Miss Burnett, Carbone asked her to keep his sex dream a secret. this far into the Me Too movement, did he really expect she would? Media ethics in a networked world are especially important these days when fallacy seems to have been a regular product of the old world. Let this be a lesson to all my students and the rest of the media world. In the quest for self-support, be careful not to set yourself up for a big fall. Very, very well written there. Thank you so much. And I'll put a link in the description so people can go check out Terry's blog, Terry Heaton's POMO blog, which means postmodernism in a change or be changed world. The word is out. Reinvent yourself for the 21st century or die. Some would rather die than change. Leonard Sweet, cultural historian. Love it. I love this. Because me, guys, I'm just, I got a business degree. I dabbled in journalism a tiny bit, wrote a few things, blogged a little bit, vlogged a little bit. But for me, as an entertainer, I want to share the truth. With stand-up comedy, you start with a truthful premise, but then you tell a joke. There's never an assumption of what you're saying is fact. So when I talk about things on here, I want to get down to the truth. I don't just want to know that Grace spoke with, that there was an issue with Grace and Rachel and Matt James. I want to know what the truth is. And if we don't know the truth, if we're not privy to that information of what the truth is, we have to hold back on our assumptions. We have to hold back on judging others and creating some sort of wildfire, because it's very fancy and it's very sexy to run with information when we think we have all the info, but we just don't. And again, I know I might come off hypocritical. I don't want anyone to look at my channel and think that we are a beacon of all information. We are, I want my collateral damage to be as minimal as possible. I don't want to share spoilers that are going to hurt people if they've changed, if they've moved on, if they've done better. I understand that people do improve and they do sort of evolve from who they used to be. With the case of Reality Steve, a lot of the issues he was still making, and the idea that he believed in his own hype is something that a lot of people have said that he doesn't understand. Kind of like, I don't know, that what his position is within all of this. And as Demi said earlier in the video, that when she started giving him attention, it's almost like when you give a troll attention, sometimes they'll just flip and be friends with you. So it's like, what were you trying to do all along? Slander me, create all this drama, just work on your own profits, but at a point, then become friends with me? So obviously it's a great idea for Reality Steve to not try to be friends with the contestants or mentor or whatever he thought he was trying to be. But it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. It'll be interesting to see how people react to his spoilers as they come out. And I will be one of the first people to get your attention and talk about it, because that's what we're here for. So thank you so much, Terry, for letting me share your article. Everyone can go check that out, link below. And also, I wanted to mention this earlier because I said it on a few other videos, but if you see this video first, I messed up my MailChimp so bad last night. I accidentally deleted 2,115 subscribers. Look at that. Accidentally. They're gone forever. So if you're out there, double check to make sure you're subscribed by clicking on the link below. I have my link in my link tree. Click on the link. Make sure you're subscribed. It's free. It's a newsletter list. I was going to send a newsletter out today. I'm going to send it out on Friday now so I can try to regain a lot of the subs I lost. I got 581, which is probably most of you guys. So if you haven't signed up before, this is your chance to go sign up and help me out. I'm going to be sharing tour dates, stand-up comedy, merchandise, whatever I have going on in my life, anything more personal. I'm going to send you guys emails. No spam, none of that. Probably only going to send out 1 or 2 emails a month tops. But let me know if you guys could go support me there. And of course, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. My podcast, The Sap, I don't promote it enough on here. I do a podcast every week. This episode that I released yesterday is called Normalize Self-Care and Mental Health Awareness, and it's about taking care of yourself before you take care of others. Audio version is free. Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can get that for free. If you want to support me on the paid membership version on Patreon, you can watch the video of that. Again, take care of your mental health first. It's free, the audio. The video version you can unlock with a monthly subscription. I got 31 patrons. They're amazing people. They support me monthly, and it really helps pay the bills. So I appreciate all of you guys out there. Thanks so much, Terry, and everyone else for all your kind comments. And let's just keep on educating ourselves on ethics and how we can try to be truthful and authentic as we move forward in life. All right, folks. See you later.